We do have unexpected allies. Consider, for instance, the devotees of permaculture. Bill Mollison's very interesting 3 principles of permaculture. As you can see, number 3 is setting limits to population and consumption. Today we'd say that all 3 of them are actually about setting limits to population. Care of the earth and care of people can't take place without them. Back in 1980, he assumed we could simply govern our own needs to control our population. But of course, we now have a growth-obsessed government which is so determined to make population grow that we've got up to 1.8% growth per year, a rate at which we will pass 100 million by the end of the century. And if natural increase starts to fall off, as it will, they will simply demand additional immigration to replace it. So it's no use asking the demographers what's the projection for the future. It's set by the plutocracy. Until you get traction against the plutocracy, they're very happy with 1.8% and they will keep it there. Again, just showing you how strong an ally the permaculturalists might be, some of the things they say. That's point number 2, implacable and uncompromising opposition to any further disturbance of any remaining natural forests. We have allies in the business community. Peter Hall of Hunter Hall, a very interesting businessman, has written this brilliant long essay called Lumberjacks in Eden. Very good on population as well as other things. You'll find it easily by Googling. He says that as an investor of other people's money, he's very unhappy when economic growth is less than 3% a year. It doesn't augur well, but as an intelligent human being, he knows it cannot go on for much longer. So not all businessmen are mad growth addicts. That's the book, which is on sale here. We had, of course, a great ally in Bob Carr, who spoke very passionately at the launch about how it felt like to have decisions in Canberra forcing an extra million people onto him in Sydney. He said if you do that to Sydney, either it goes out and it spills into areas he was supposed to protect, like Ku-ring-gai Chase or Botany Bay, or it goes up and turns places into concrete gullies, or usually both. Bob Birrell has given us a nice endorsement. So we can get a great deal of power in debate, I think, by the right graphs and so on that just bring home to people how extraordinary this growth is that they've been treating as natural, a point made by earlier speakers today. That's John Coulter's graph, which this is a more complex graph, or not truly a graph, in which the light area is the percentage of the world that is available for other species, percentage of the world's resources. The dark blue down the bottom is what the genus Homo monopolises. As you can see, genus Homo didn't do very well, lost all but one of its species, but just of late it's been heading up towards almost infinity. When world population peaks at 9 billion, that will not be the worst of the squeeze or the bottleneck on other species, because a great many of those billions will be living in poverty. So the worst squeeze will come later in that uncertain area up towards the extreme top end of the graph. As I say, it's not strictly a graph based on data, it's a notional graph. Know your enemies. Here we have the demographer economist, Peter MacDonald. Wonderful, simplistic growthist attitudes, and he is about to become the president of the World Union of Demographers. Typical in the debate I have with him each year, which will be coming on in another 3 days for this year, for the environmental students at ANU. He told us that even China will become a pro-natalist nation within 10 years, that the real demographic story of the future is shortage of labour. Of course, he's talking to big industrialists who want to mine out Australia's remaining minerals as fast as they can before they have emissions limits put on them. 2 minutes? I'll race through the slides. Peter MacDonald again here. Conservation is highly desirable as far as it goes. Old-fashioned growth economist. These are quite powerful graphs. Here's the parts of Australia that have sufficient and reliable rainfall. Deep green, not very many of them, but then you also need fertile soil. Only the dark areas have that, but you're probably ahead of me. The crucial issue is how many areas have both. The tiny little bits in dark blue-green. We actually get most of our wheat off areas that only have mediocre soil and moderately reliable winter rain, plus, of course, as already been pointed out by another speaker, enormous inputs of energy. And I come back to the conclusion, we need to get angry. We need to be aggressive in debate. It's not enough just to make the academic case, though it's very important to make those cases, to know that we're right. You also do have to deal with people who are deliberately dragging their heels, who have vested interests. They will try to shame us. I believe we should be shaming them. And we do need to dust off that old weapon of the 1960s, the demonstration, as was done recently, I think, here to the Property Council of Australia, when they found their meeting invaded by people calling them greedy, selfish bastards and turning their whole rhetoric on its head. That's the real task ahead of us, to turn that rhetoric on its head. Thank you very much.